Hello everyone, this is Jay, I'm Krista. This is Say I Do Forever. We are a channel hoping to help you say I do forever in your marriage, forever and ever and ever. So if you're interested in improving your marriage, please subscribe, comment, like. If you love this video, please like it, please comment, and please share it with your friends. Every Friday, we are going through chapters of a book. Right now, we are going through the five love languages and learning each other's love languages as we go. Last week, we actually took our test, and we have that video. You can go back and see what our love languages are. We'll probably talk about it a little bit today. But today we get to go into chapter 4, which is words of affirmation. So this is the very first time we are going to actually start talking about the love languages. And this chapter was chocked full of goodness.
Oh, yeah.
This was a really good chapter, guys.
Yep.
I was just like, yes, okay, finally we're to the meat.
Yep.
I was kind of chomping at the bit to get to the meat.
Yep. Yeah, 3 chapters later.
Yeah. I mean, the other chapters were good, but it was kind of like setting everything up.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, okay, here we go. Here's some good stuff for your marriage. So hopefully you have read your chapter this week and you're sitting down to enjoy it with us. If you haven't got your book yet, grab one from the library, from Amazon, from your local bookstore, and join in with us. Watch some of the old videos and catch up. But we are on chapter 4, words of affirmation. And ironically, this is, or has all these years been, Jay's top love language. We did have a surprise that it kind of, he got a new love language in there all of a sudden, which was spending time together. Quality time.
Yep.
But usually his top one is words of affirmation.
Which is still important, but the quality time. And I think a lot of the reason why it switched was because of my health issues, which we've talked about in the past. So, yeah.
So let's get into this book. We're all cozy here on the couch, and believe it or not, it is still mid-August, and I'm wearing a sweater. I've got a blankie. I am just like all cozy. We are freezing.
It's pretty chilly in here, actually.
Yeah, I have no idea why we got our coffee drinks cold.
For a Friday, yeah. I mean,
yeah, crazy in August.
Yeah, buddy.
But words of affirmation, I think what he does is, Gary Chapman, he starts out talking about what the words of affirmation are, and different things you can say. You look sharp in that suit. But I just don't think that if I ever looked at you and said, you look sharp in that suit. First of all, you'd say, what suit?
No, first of all, I'd say, you're getting that out of the 5 love languages book. That's what I would say.
Too cheesy, huh?
Yeah, because that's something you would never say.
How about the second one? Do you ever look incredible in that dress?
That's something I would say to Krista, yes.
But I would run.
Yeah. You'd be like, uh-oh.
Oh, boy. But some of them are a little cheesy. But
yeah,
there is a difference between your spouse is going to know if you're genuine.
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Yeah, I think it's important to be genuine.
Yeah.
You look so smashing in that suit.
Yeah. Yeah, smashing. Now we're going back to the 40s.
Oh. But it does say, verbal compliments are far greater motivators than nagging words. That was an incredible thing. So many women, okay, I'm narrowing down on us women, but I think men do it too. But we'll try to use compliments kind of not in a real way to get what we want done. Maybe that's more manipulating. I think there's a difference between manipulating and being genuine, that you want to, so we'll talk about more of that. But I think in this first one, it was actually the wife wanted to have her husband paint a room. And so he talks to her. You've got to read that little story there.
It is funny.
And even though she keeps saying, you should really paint, I really need this room painted. Today would have been a perfect day. The weather was perfect for you to paint that, and she kept nagging and nagging and nagging. And his advice actually at that point was to stop asking him to paint that room, and then just give him words of affirmation in other areas, like, thank you so much for taking out that trash, stuff like that.
To build his esteem up. And then after she did that for a little while, then he went and he painted the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think...
without her nagging anymore.
So there's a difference between nagging and words of affirmation. There's a difference between manipulating and actually wanting the welfare of your spouse. You knowing what they want and need and fulfilling that. And yes, you have needs too. So it's actually, he even talks about how you can lovingly say, I really need you to help me out more around the house. That's in a loving way, because you're kind of telling your spouse what you need from them. It's not like, I just sure wish you would help more around the house. He talked about tone, didn't he?
Yeah.
You can say...
the way you phrase things.
You can say, I love you. Or you could say, I love you. Or you could say,
yeah,
I love you.
Yeah.
Oh, and encouraging words. Encouraging words were so good. Since this is your love language, what is important to you in...
For people that don't have this as their main love language, and now that this is my secondary love language, which is fine because it's just like it was a few points behind, the quality time. So it still is like neck and neck with the quality time, the words of affirmation. But you help build your spouse up by giving them words of affirmation. If that is what their love language is, when you speak praise towards them, like, thank you so much for finishing that project that we were working on. I know it took a while, I know it was difficult, but thanks so much for doing that. That starts to build such a positive, encouraging thoughtfulness into their just outlook on life, let alone your marriage. And it puts them in a better mood. I guarantee you they'll be in a better mood. Guarantee it. Mm-hmm. If that's their love language. And for me, that is. And when she speaks that way to me and encourages me in that way, it makes me want to further get the other projects done that need to be done. Or just, even taking out the trash or cleaning the kitchen or whatever, mowing the front yard, mowing the backyard, whatever needs to be done. You have more of a drive to get those things accomplished, to get those things done if your spouse is speaking your love language. Mm-hmm. It's just really critical in your marriage to know which love language to speak.
I think through the years, I've really, really noticed it with you, that if I am just nagging you, please, I need this done, how come you haven't finished this, how come you haven't finished that, you actually will put your heels down and actually not do it, because you're just not happy. Whereas when I am like, gosh, thank you so much for helping me with that, thank you for doing that, you have just almost strived to do more.
Right.
And help more.
Right. Because it goes from nagging to more of more into a positive direction. Mm-hmm. Who wants to, you guys know, like when you're at work, you have such negativity all the time. It just, you throw up your hands and you're like, you know what? You get to the point where I just feel like just collecting a paycheck, and I'm just going to do the bare minimum because I am so burned out on getting ridiculed. I'm so burned out on getting spoken down at, oppressed. You know, you basically get to the point where you throw up the white flag and you surrender. I mean, and that's the same way with marriage. If you have a spouse that browbeats you all the time, you're just like, you know what? No matter what I say, no matter what I do, it's never going to be good enough. But if your spouse reiterates to you what a blessing you are, how encouraging you are, how amazing you are, thank you so much, giving you lots of kudos and just positive, encouraging words, it speaks life, you know, and it makes you feel like $1,000,000 and like you can conquer any project that you set your mind to do. And it is going to benefit not only you, because you're going to be feeling better about yourself, because your self-esteem is going to be way high, but it's going to benefit them as well. Because things are going to get done.
Yeah.
Things are going to get done and done fast.
And I was thinking about
faster.
Proverbs in the Bible is so full of these, you know, oh gosh, I should have looked some of these up before we came on, but the tongue is like a two-edged sword. It cuts, you know, basically, and
it's like life or death.
Yeah, like you can actually kill your marriage just with your tongue.
Yeah.
Hi, Alexander.
He decided to come visit on the video again.
So, you know, you can actually just ruin your entire marriage just with your tongue. It also says that it's like the rudder of a ship. So you can steer an entire ship with one little rudder, and you can steer your entire life, your entire marriage with your tongue. So if you are always negative and always nagging or always saying how how horrible your spouse is, your marriage is going to go that direction. Even if it was only a little bit there, your marriage is officially going to, you know, your husband will probably fulfill that, or your wife will fulfill that. If you're constantly telling them they're worthless, they're going to think, well, I might as well not even try.
Yeah, they're going to think, well, you think I'm worthless? Mm-hmm. Let me show you how worthless I can be. Mm-hmm. You know, and then it goes down a real bad road, and then you wonder why you got a divorce. Well, mm-hmm. There you go. If you're going to browbeat them all the time, they're going to give up. They're going to throw their hands in the air.
It's taking a while to find this.
Yeah, he's going to get comfortable. And the other thing, not to pick on wives, but you know, in Proverbs it says, you know, it's better to sit on the corner of a hot tin roof than be in a house with a nagging wife.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, there's a lot of the Proverbs that talk about that, and King Solomon, when he did the Proverbs, it's so funny because it's not just once that he says things like that. It's many times.
There's something else that says something about the woman can ruin her entire marriage with her mouth or something. I remember coming across it, you know, and we should look some of those up and maybe put them in the description below.
And I was going to say too, on the hot tin roof, on the corner of a hot tin roof, then living with a nagging wife, that can also go the other direction too, with a nagging husband. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not just always the wife that's nagging. Sometimes the husband nags, and you're just like, okay, I'm done. I've had enough. Mm-hmm. You have nothing good to say to me, then don't say anything at all. And how many times have we heard that?
Or belittling. You know? There's some husbands out there that just belittle and belittle and belittle, almost because they have low self-esteem.
Right.
And so they feel like they've got to belittle their wife.
They try to propel themselves above.
Yeah.
By belittling them.
Marriage isn't about climbing onto one person and pushing them down so you can be up. Marriage is a team to...
It's putting a hand out to help them up. Mm-hmm. You know? We're supposed to serve each other.
Yeah.
And be each other's helpmeet. And if you're clobbering them all the time, that's not going to get you anywhere.
He actually talks about something in here. about selfishness. In the encouraging words section on page 42, it actually says encouragement, which encouraging words requires empathy and seeing the world from your spouse's perspective. We must first learn what is important to our spouse. Only then we can give encouragement. So you're not giving encouragement to manipulate them to do what you want them to do. So say your spouse is in a job that you just know that they could make more money in a different job. So say your husband is in something, you think he needs to be promoted to manager so you can make more money and fulfill your dreams. So you start trying to talk him into getting this other position, but maybe your spouse that's not his dreams and his hopes. Maybe that's not what God has gifted him in. It's only going to benefit you because you'll have more money coming in. So manipulating would be to start giving, you can do it, you can apply for this job. And then they say, well, I kept giving them encouragement. You don't want to give encouraging and affirming words to get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
What you want to do is when your spouse, say, maybe even wants to change jobs and is really unhappy in that job, and yet say they like to do something else. I'm trying to think of a scenario. Like maybe they're an artist. Well, that's kind of a scary, avenue to go down. But that, say your spouse is an artist and he's not going to be happy or she's not going to be happy until she or he does that which they pursue. So an unselfish spouse sees through their eyes that where they're meant to be and where they would be happiest is in that direction. And so you start to encourage them and give them affirmation to follow those dreams. And that's unselfish because that means you're going to have to sacrifice some money per month. Maybe you're going to have to work a little harder.
Yeah.
So your words of affirmation have to be unselfish.
Yeah, why push your spouse into something that they really don't want to do and are going to be miserable?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're good at this job that they absolutely can't stand, pushing them that direction isn't going to help things at all.
No, it might make your marriage worse because then when they get that position, they're going to be so miserable, they're going to slightly blame it on you.
Right.
So,
yep.
I think the whole goal of marriage is working together to help each other be the best that the two of you guys could be.
Right.
So, Jay is really good at this. For me, I'm going to say, I have always been an introvert, and most people don't know that about me because I ran a business for 16 years. But I was shy and in my home, and he just told, it wasn't that he wanted me, because this was something was going to cost him money if I went into business. He was going to have to put out some money, and it was going to be hard. But he knew that my mental health needed that confidence and needed that creative outlet. And so he saw me kind of suffering from depression and stuff. And so he began to give me little pushes and encouragement of, you can do this. You can, you are good at this, and you can achieve this goal. And then even helped open some of the doors to get me to that next level, where God began to work on my personality and work on my confidence. And I was fulfilling that creative flow that I needed, or those creative juices.
Mm-hmm.
And so it didn't benefit him. If anything, it took my time away from him. It took his money away from him. But he cared enough about me as a person to give me that affirmation to do what I kind of was meant to do. And I think that's the difference when you're doing this. Do not go into this words of affirmation like you're going to manipulate your spouse.
Yeah, it's not about manipulation. It's about supporting and helping nudge them along, especially when you know what they're good at and you see how valuable they are to the community and what a difference they can make in this community, in your community, whatever. You have this desire to just give them words of affirmation, to be their cheerleader, to let them know, hey, you know what? You are going to be amazing at this if you take that first step. If you take that leap of faith, if you just move forward. Because I see what you're capable of. It's a no-brainer. You are so talented at this. You need to just run with it. And they will never be angry with you or look down at you for helping them achieve their dreams, especially if you know in the back of their minds that they've always wanted to do this, or that they have this talent and they just need a little nudge.
And the funny thing is words of affirmation is not my love language, but I almost think that words of affirmation and how you speak to your spouse is probably important for every spouse.
Right.
I think that it's most important for those who feel most loved when they have words of affirmation. But I'm going to say you can't hurt anything by giving words of encouragement and words of affirmation.
Well, and just, you don't want to be condescending, but you do want to come alongside them. You know, it's just so important.
Yeah, and so like the thing on forgiveness before we go to the last story in here. Wow, his little section on forgiveness, guys. You really need to read this chapter. This one was just chocked full of so much goodness. I loved where it says forgiveness is the way of love. One of the things is you can't give words of affirmation if you're holding a grudge against your spouse. You need to forgive. And, you know, mature love forgives. Mature love doesn't hold grudges. Mature love doesn't bring up the past failures. It moves on and it builds your spouse. And love doesn't keep a score of wrongs, and it doesn't bring up the past failures. I just said that. We're all humans that have failed, and we're all going to be in need of forgiveness. But, we can't erase the past, but we can only confess it and agree that it was wrong. And then we move on. Forgiveness is the way of love. It says it again.
Yeah, and don't hold on to the scorecard or the scorebook where you have his and her lists of wrongdoings, and you always go right back to that book and you bring up all these mistakes they've made. That is just toxic.
Yeah.
You will not do that.
Definitely.
Just forgive, forget, and move on.
And what else he said on page 45 is forgiveness is not a feeling, it's a commitment. And that's so true. You may not feel like forgiving your spouse, but you can commit to forgiving your spouse.
Yep.
And that, you're not going to be giving words of affirmation if you haven't forgiven your spouse.
Right.
It's really, really hard to tell your spouse how proud you are of them when you're just bitter. So I'm so glad he included forgiveness here in this chapter. And then he talks about humble words. Love makes requests, not demands. When I demand things from my spouse, I become the parent and she is the child. Isn't that true? How many marriages have you seen where it almost seemed like a parent and a child? And both ways, either husband or wife. I've seen it where the husband was just belittling the spouse in a public situation. So that they probably are worse behind the scenes, and just kind of belittling her and acting like her parent, like disciplining her. And I've seen the other way around where the wife was just belittling and berating and just acting as if they were the parent, demanding, that they. So don't have a relationship as a parent-child in your relationship. Have a relationship as you're two adults. Treat your spouse like an adult. Treat your spouse like a human.
Like a helpmate, like a partner in
Yeah,
life.
be partners.
You're supposed to be partners in your marriage, not one-sided, because that will create a disaster real fast.
Yeah, I was thinking about, we have a son that we had adopted when he was 10, and so he was much older. And I remember just getting so frustrated with him and so frustrated just because of the behavior issues, stuff like that. And I remember really feeling like God was telling me, speak life to him, Krista. Don't speak death. Don't berate him. He's struggling. He needs love, and speak life into him. And I think the same thing with your marriage. Speak life into your marriage.
Yeah.
Speak what you want it to become. If you want it to become a miserable cesspool, then speak that and you'll get it. But if you want it to be a place of love and admiration, speak that into it.
Yeah, if you want to see things change, just kind of randomly, slowly, but randomly compliment your spouse and see how things go. Mm-hmm. When you're being positive, encouraging towards them instead of belittling them, you'll see things totally switch and go 180 degrees the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
And it does work because we're living proof of that in our marriage.
Yeah,
we really
turn it around.
Yep.
You go through those frustrating years. If you're in those frustrating years, you're not alone, but you can turn it around just by your mouth. It's a rudder. Your tongue is a rudder that can turn the whole ship around.
Yeah, steer it 180 degrees the other direction.
So at the end, he has a question. What would you most like to hear your spouse say to you? Just think about that for a minute. And maybe write that in the comments below. Tell us what would you want your spouse to say to you? And then I'm going to add a second one that he didn't put. What do you think your spouse wants you to say to him or her?
And I was teasing Krista. Should I tell him?
Yeah.
Dinner's ready.
Dinner's ready. Okay, so that's all I have to say to him, and
words that you'd
happy.
like to hear. Well, I mean, who doesn't want to hear that when you're hungry? But I was just kidding, though. This is more on a loving, more of a compassionate level.
If we're going there, then how about I say,
here we go.
The dishes are done.
And put them away.
That is the best thing that a spouse could say.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we digress.
So
but
it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
You gotta have
humor.
Fun.
Humor is an important part of our
You gotta have fun.
Relationship.
If you don't have fun, it's gonna be boring.
It's true. Well, I hope this week you guys can think, kind of just listen to all the different things you say this week to your spouse. Just kind of take a mental note of it. And are they words of affirmation and love and respect and forgiveness? Or are they words of manipulation or disrespect or belittling or any of those? Just really take note this week and maybe make a change in that, whether your spouse's love language is affirmation or not. Still make a change there, because I think no matter what, that's a critical component of your marriage. Sure. And then even better if your spouse feels love through affirmation, words of affirmation, then that's a home run hit.
Yeah, it'll be over the top success for sure.
Yeah.
Over the top success for sure.
So definitely, we want to hear how your week is going. We want to hear about
how your week went.
how your week went.
Yeah.
And how, as you all through the week kind of go over this chapter and think about this chapter, what's kind of come to mind. And then we'll be working on chapter 5 next week. But until then,
this is Jay and Krista helping you say I do forever.
we'll
Till
see you
next
later.
time.
Until next time.
See you
Bye-bye.
guys.